Everybody hear me? As Don mentioned, my name is Eidelberg, and I am a cancer survivor. When they asked me to speak today, I didn't realize the special significance of this date, because you see, exactly 1 year ago today, I was admitted into the emergency room where my cancer journey began. It's been a heck of a year, I gotta say. 4 days prior to that, I didn't feel great. I was a little nauseous, had a little appetite, which for me was completely out of the ordinary. On the 5th day, Saturday, I woke up, I looked in the mirror and I thought, I'm a little yellow, but that's okay. However, as almost every female in this room would completely understand, I had a coveted hair color appointment. So no yellowing until that hair color appointment. My husband, Mark, and my sons were out of the house. Actually, my sons were sleeping. My husband was, of course, on the golf course. So off I went, and when I returned home, my friend had stopped by. She took one look at me, and she said, you're yellow. Your eyes and your skin are yellow. And from there, pretty hair and all, it went downhill. 2 days later, I was having a special endoscopy right here at Overlook Hospital. When I woke up in recovery, my husband, Mark, was standing over me and he was crying. In my groggy state, I said, what are you crying for? He said, they found a mass on your pancreas. He said, choking back the tears. You have pancreatic cancer. First words out of my mouth were, oh my God, well, who's going to walk my children down the aisle? Not realizing that one of my sons was standing behind me. I'm sure these are words he will never, ever forget. I used to think, though, God, if I ever heard the words, you have cancer, that I would crumble and I'd be wailing, no, not me. But I was incredibly calm. Probably could have been the drugs also. For a short time, I wallowed in, this was not my plan. I also went into immediate mom mode. I have twin 20-year-old boys that still needed me. They were way too young to have to deal with this, unfortunately, yet they were old enough to fully comprehend. This is going to be their journey as well, unfortunately for them. But I remember thinking, just stay strong, stay positive for these boys. They need you. But I also remember thinking, no way am I ever going to let these children use my cancer diagnosis as a reason for what they couldn't do. Not an option. Stay strong, boys. So I was admitted into the hospital here at Overlook overnight, and one of the nurses came into my room for vitals. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. She sat with me, she was rubbing my arm, sweet as could be, asked if I needed to talk. I declined as I kind of needed to process what was going on as well. I spent the next few days in that fog, letting my physician brother and brother-in-law just make arrangements for me. Just kind of walking around, as I'm sure you all know, like a lost puppy dog not knowing what to do first. 3 days later, I was in Baltimore at Johns Hopkins Hospital, having scans and waiting to hear to see if I was a candidate for the Whipple surgery, which quite frankly less than 10% of pancreatic cancer patients can have. My husband and I met with the surgeon the next morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, and alas, I heard those words, you are a candidate for the surgery. Who would ever think you'd be so elated to have surgery? I vividly remember at that point thinking, okay, it's going to be all right. It's time to pick up your big girl panties now, Lisa. All right? You got a fight to fight, and you are one tough fighting chick, and you are going to do everything in your power not to give in to this. I will fight like I've never fought before, and trust me, I can fight. So 2 days later, I was being rolled in for a 5.5 surgery down at Johns Hopkins, where 9 family members waited with my husbands and sons to support them. The news was as good as it could be. The cancer was in the pancreas only and had not metastasized. Following a 7-week recuperation, along with a 20-plus pound weight loss, I met with my oncologist, Dr. Moriarty, here at Overlook. I will never, ever forget meeting him for the first time. I had my husband, sister-in-law, and brother-in-law with me, yet Dr. Moriarty spoke to me, and only me, as I was the only one in the room, as if to say, this is your cancer, it's not theirs. His demeanor remained calm as he delivered the news of the 3 levels of chemo options. It's kind of funny because before I had my cancer, cancer. I was always like at the high end of middle age, but all of a sudden I was deemed young and healthy enough to have the toughest kind of chemo. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? It's also weird, as everybody in this room knows, how you get thrust into a world of terms that you've never heard before, yet all of a sudden they become near and dear. Port insertion, port flush, tumor markers. Who knew what that was before all of this? Zofran and a myriad of drugs. I was to have chemo, for which I would be at Overlook from 9 to 6 every Wednesday. First in, last out. Then I had the distinct pleasure of going home with a slow drip pump for 46 hours, and back to Overlook I went on Fridays to get the pump disconnected. I had 10 rounds of intense chemo, which was made as pleasant as possible by the compassionate, caring staff here. Everyone, from the front desk to the back rooms, couldn't do enough and always had smiles on their faces. Myra, standing right back there in the corner, she was the nurse that mainly took care of me, and for 7 months became my kind of chemo family. And when the last day of chemo, as sick as it sounds, but I'm sure many of you know, you're going to miss these people. They become your family. And I cried when I said goodbye to Myra. I wasn't crying about being done with chemo. The staff here could not have been nicer, more accommodating, and simply made this chemo experience as tolerable as possible. You guys back there are rock stars. Thank you. There was also 6 weeks of radiation, for which I was told I would be exhausted. So 4 weeks into it, I asked Dr. Schwartz, so when am I going to get tired? He said, oh, that was 2 weeks ago. So I guess I flew through the radiation okay. The surgery and chemo gave me food aversions, weight loss, hair loss, numb feet and hands, for which I still have today, bowel issues that take me by surprise at any time, and God knows I hope today's not one of them. Tears, a couple of meltdowns, fear, and yet still lots and lots of laughter. I realize how truly blessed I am and how lucky I am to have such an amazing support system. My husband, Mark, worked full-time, and then he came home to job number 2, cook, caregiver, and cleaner. I was lucky that my 2 boys, Andrew and David, were away at college most of the time and didn't really see me in chemo cocoon. It took its toll on Mark emotionally, but together we remained positive and bonded as a couple. So to that, I look back at this pretty crappy year and think, while a lot of it really did stink, there were some really positive things that came out of it. For starters, with the help and generosity of my company, friends, and son, we raised over $32,000 towards cancer research in just 9 months. I personally am so proud and honored to have been associated with so many generous people. When I was in what I would deem chemo cocoon, which I went into after every treatment, Netflix became my savior. All those shows I had hoped to watch, I actually really did get the chance to watch. There was nothing like putting a deep hole in your couch doing absolutely nothing but watching fantastic TV. Virtual blowouts. This was a term that I coined. It was the ultimate of multitasking. I would drop my hair/wig off at the beauty parlor for a wash and blowout, all while going to have lunch, run errands, do everything. An hour later, I would come back and my hair would be done. While I'm on the subject of hair, I did get to try so many different hairstyles over the course of the year that, trust me, I would never have had the guts to do. I became a volunteer for the Lustgarden Foundation, helping newly diagnosed patients have someone to speak to and interact with. In 2 weeks from now, I will join the PanCan organization down in Washington, D.C. for National Advocacy Day, helping to raise funds and awareness for this dreaded disease. For the first time in my life, I had the good fortune of living the lifestyles of the rich and famous. I had a staff of plenty in family and friends. I had personal assistants who cleared their own schedules to make sure every chemo Wednesday and Friday had coverage. I had chefs sending in countless meals and making food when I couldn't touch the cold because of the effects of chemo. I had personal shoppers that would call wherever they were to see what I needed and drop them off at my house. Event planners that organized walks in my honor, even my son Andrew, who rode 26 miles in Miami for a bike race to raise money towards cancer research. I even had a joke writer on staff. Yup, every Wednesday morning I would get a text from one of my friends with the joke of the day, just to make sure my Wednesday didn't start out without a laugh. Cancer puts life into perspective. Perspective that I always thought that I had, but it was heightened during this journey. I had to stop working at a job for which I was well respected, or at least in my mind I was well respected, and for the most part liked. In its place, I pay it forward by volunteering time to a personally worthy cause. We had to cancel a big trip that had been planned for years for my husband and son back last June when I was first diagnosed. Food and wine, for which I loved more than anything, I couldn't even look at. But who cares? Because I'm here, we're here. It's kind of like childbirth. During the day-to-day, you forget the bad and you start to remember the positive. But all that aside, cancer is scary. Cancer is scary to the individual battling it, to our spouse, to our children, parents, friends, and community. I've learned that cancer does not discriminate. It knows no age, sex, racial, political, or religious background. It makes others question their health and mortality. Cancer is not why me, it's why not me. But if others learn that if you're questioning something that just doesn't feel right and you get it checked, then something else good has come from this. Other than just being incredibly healthy, my goal was to inspire and not to invoke pity, and I can only hope that I've reached that goal. Every survivor here today and every day is somehow now part of my survivor family, in a manner in which only we can understand. We keep fighting, we stay positive, we keep smiling, and we never, ever let cancer define who we are, ever. We've all fought a battle that has changed our lives forever. We earned our badge of courage. As ESPN's Stuart Scott said, you beat cancer by how you live, while you live, and the manner in which you live. And for me, truer words have never been spoken. I'd like to give a big shout out to all the caregivers in the room. You guys are truly the unsung heroes in this war, and we thank you for standing by us. Thank you to all those here at Overlook Hospital and elsewhere that have helped us tirelessly, both physically and emotionally, and for dedicating your lives just to getting us better. Mainly those people in the back of the room and not around the floor. And lastly, I just want to congratulate each and every survivor in this room and around the world. And I look forward to many more happy celebrations together. Thank you.